Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrible and Home Care. Very glad you are joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. We love to get updates about things happening in the parish, and one of the few people that normally knows everything happening in the parish, Chris Pulaski. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Of course, Chris, with the planning and zoning and is the director of that, we've got some exciting things happening. Let's talk a little bit about some of these options that we're going to be providing downtown.
So what we're going to be talking about today has to do with parking downtown, paid parking,
Right.
the metered parking spaces. And now this is something that we started before IDA, we started before COVID, really. It was kind of coming off of the downtown demonstration day and trying to make things a little more convenient to people, visitors coming to downtown area. And that basically is what's known as Park Mobile app. It's an application on your smartphone. If you've ever been in New Orleans area, like downtown, the Central Business District, or along Magazine Street, also Baton Rouge, downtown Baton Rouge uses this.
Right.
I mean, LSU campus. I mean,
Right.
Park Mobile is one of the biggest network parking providers. So a few years back, or a couple years back, we brought this to the parish council. They approved us to sign the agreement with Park Mobile to get it established, and we'll get into the rates and stuff like that. But essentially, what this is I think we're all aware that the parking meters downtown are old, right? When one of them breaks, there's really no parts that can be found unless you go on eBay or something. So what they oftentimes will do is whenever we've removed parking meters over the years for one reason or another. We just took out 11, I think, around the Rotary Centennial Plaza area.
Right.
So right now, HPD basically stores those meters, and then if one of the other meters breaks, they basically part out the other ones, right?
Or replace it completely with the same
completely.
unit, with a different unit.
So, and then, the meters, sometimes they're not working, and I mean, I certainly have come up to a parking meter, it's not working, so what do? Do you put the quarter in or not? Or do you have to move to another parking spot? I mean, it can get confusing.
Sure.
And, frankly, they're a little unsightly, parking meters everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
So with the Park Mobile
they're older,
app,
right?
Yeah. So with the Park Mobile app, I mean, it's a choice. It's not a requirement.
Right.
So those who choose to use it, you can either put the app on your phone, or you can just do it on their website through your phone. And it's the same quarter an hour rate, but you will be paying additional monies for the bank transaction, the credit card fees, basically,
Right.
and Park Mobile's fee. That's how they make their money on
Sure.
per transaction. But the hourly rate is still a quarter an hour.
So
Now,
25 cents for an hour.
correct. If you choose not to use the Park Mobile app, if you've got a bunch of change in your car and you want to keep paying traditionally through the meter, that's fine. We're not going to be pulling the meters out. We can talk about what we are going to be doing with those meters
Down the
later
road,
on.
right.
But for now, what we're doing is just setting up the Park Mobile zone. So the way it works is each block is essentially assigned as a zone, and it's
Right.
a 4 or 5 digit number.
Right.
And it's usually one side of the street is a zone from block to block, and
Okay.
the other side of the street is a different zone, block to
Okay,
block.
2 different zones. Okay.
And there'll be stickers on the meters that identify the zone number, and additionally, there'll be signs placed on those blocks that identify the zone. So when you come to a space, and if you want to pay with the Park Mobile app, you would pull out the app, identify the zone numbers. Oftentimes the app, if you allow it to use your location,
Right.
it'll tell you, are you in zone 2, 3, 4, 5? And if you say yes, okay, fine. So basically, you pay for as much time as the meter will allow, if it's a 2-hour limit or a 4-hour limit,
Right.
or as much as you want to pay,
Right.
right? But the nice thing is, too, is you can, through the settings in Park Mobile, you can tell the app, I want to be notified, say, 15 minutes before my time expires. And so you'll get a little text message or a little notification, and then you can go in from wherever you are If you're seated in a restaurant and your meter's about to expire, well, the Park Mobile app will tell you, and you
Right.
can add another hour or 2 hours to your time. So that's very convenient.
And I will tell you, I did it just last week. 1 week ago in New Orleans, very same scenario, having dinner with my son for his birthday. Dinner went long, added an hour to parking on the app.
Right, right.
Very simple.
Very simple. And again, it's not something that, we understand that not everybody would want to participate in this, and that's why it's optional.
Right.
You'll still
Coins
be
are
able
still
to,
available.
you can still use the meters. But as time goes on, as downtown continues, we work towards the revitalization. One of the things that we're also going to be doing is phasing out and replacing those meters with a more modern take, which would be the kiosks. And again, you see that in New Orleans
Everywhere.
and Baton Rouge. And those kiosks, they're not Park Mobile, it's a different company.
Right.
I think it's called T3. But essentially, they perform a similar function where you can also pay, through their website, or you can pay traditionally either through
Through the
coins or
kiosk.
paper at the machine.
And downtown parking is one of those things that I know it's been a hot topic for several years. We've coordinated and looked at this diagonal parking and these test days. And now from that kind of comes some of this beta testing that we're doing with using this parking option with some of the meters.
Right. So the Park Mobile app is primarily what we're doing right now. So we have a beta testing area. So what we've done is, if you go along Greenwich Street from Main to School.
Main to School on Greenwich.
On Greenwich. Okay. Those meters that are out there, you'll see they have stickers on them that have Park
Green
Mobile
sticker,
information.
and we'll pull that up for you.
It'll show a zone number, and you can choose to use the Park Mobile feature if you like to pay for parking in that one block. Right now, we're just sort of testing it out, making sure we're working out all the bugs.
Sure.
Making
sure it works for our area, making sure it works.
Making sure that the HPD officer understands, because on their laptop in their unit, that's how they're able to see who's run out of time and who hasn't.
Oh, wow,
right?
okay.
Because the Park Mobile app has your license plate number on your account. Right. And so that's what they're looking for. But like I said, right now we're just doing this one block, but the next phase would be to essentially put the Park Mobile stickers and signage everywhere where we have metered parking.
Right.
The next phase of improvements and convenience to the parking downtown, the paid parking downtown, is replacing those antiquated parking meters with parking kiosks. So those will basically be at one end of the block or the other.
Right. And our blocks aren't that long. I don't want people to get worried that, oh my gosh, I got to walk a long way. You don't. Those kiosks are the next phase, or phase 2, if you will, right?
Correct. So, but those kiosks are not cheap.
Right.
So we were not able to put them all out all at once. What we're going to do is just start on the most critical or core areas. Basically, we're going to start with the courthouse square. Will be the first one.
Right.
And we'll put those kiosks, one at each corner of the block. And so if you choose to use that versus the Park Mobile, that's fine. You can go up to the kiosk. You have to know your license plate number because it's going to ask you for it.
Right. Because that's how everything is tracked in the system.
Right. And so
both ways, kiosk and the app.
If you choose to use that kiosk, you can pay with coin or with a card. They won't take cash.
Okay, that's smart.
Because they can't make change.
Right.
But you will print you out a receipt, and you can put that in your pocket. You can go put it back on the dashboard of your car if you want to do that, but you don't have to because your license plate is entered into that information on the kiosk. So that way, when the officer is going down the street and he's looking at all the vehicles, they're looking at the license plates, and that's how they are able to tell which ones have expired time, which ones don't. Similar to the Park Mobile, you can go online and access your parking space through that kiosk, and you can add money to through the kiosk as well. So it's kind of like a Park Mobile in that sense.
Right.
They're almost in competition
Right.
with each other
Right.
a little bit.
But it's how you start that process, either through the app or you start that process through the kiosk. And then you have options there to do either one. I love the fact that we have options, and basically it's 3 of them.
So just like the Park Mobile feature will cost you more because you're paying for those bank transactions and stuff like that. If you go up to the kiosk and just put in a quarter, that hour is just going to cost you that quarter. You won't
Right.
pay any more. But if you choose to go back to the kiosk remotely through the internet, through their website, and start doing the features like the Park Mobile app has, okay, well, now you're going to start paying those
Right.
bank transaction
A little
fees
bit
as
more
well.
for that.
So,
And we'll let people know how and what that is. But nothing's changing from a quarter an hour to park. There may be some
Correct.
additional fees involved, but it's still a quarter an hour to park, which is remarkable.
oh yeah,
But that's
I
not
mean,
changing.
It's
Because those are prime spots.
exactly, and it is voluntary. So if you, for whatever reason, just don't want to pay for the convenience, that's fine. You just go to the kiosk. Now that's once the kiosks are in place. So in the meantime, we're going to be going with the traditional meters. Will just remain in place.
And our Park Mobile.
As we move forward with this, I think the removal of the meters is just one more thing to help with the overall look of downtown. It's one of those things that you might not see it until they're gone, or realize it until they're
Right.
gone. Like, wow, what a difference this makes.
Right.
It's kind of like thinking about the overhead power lines downtown. Imagine what Main Street would look like if we didn't have overhead power lines. I mean, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
That's a bit pie in the sky right now, but
Right. But
not
again,
impossible.
yeah, it's so visually aesthetic and so pleasing to be able to see a different look. Now that Ida has changed a lot of what downtown looks like and a lot of what the whole parish looks like, now we'll get to see some purposeful revitalization and changes and some improvements. It's always nice to see that y'all are doing that as we close.
And I know some people out there may be saying, well, what in the world are they doing this for with so much happening needs to happen downtown? And I totally understand where you might be coming from with that. I mean, this started long before Ida, started long before COVID. So it's just something that, okay, well, let's just get this done. It's just one little step and we're off and running. So it's just one more thing to improve downtown. So that's what we're moving on it for.
As we keep
Get
moving.
it out of the way,
Exactly.
move on to the
Be
next.
done. Right. Chris, we appreciate all that you do, all that your team does to make Terrebonne Parish better. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming here on HTV.